Outside man, there is nothing. The whole universe is outside us. Look at the stars. Some of them are a million light years away. They're out of our reach forever. What are the stars? Said O'Brien indifferently. They're bits of fire a few kilometers away. We could reach them if we wanted to, or we could block them out. The Earth is the center of the universe. The sun and the stars go round it. Winston made another convulsive movement. This time he did not say anything. O'Brien continued as though answering a spoken objection. For certain purposes, of course, that is not true. When we navigate the ocean or when we predict an eclipse, we often find it convenient to assume that the Earth goes round the sun and that the stars are millions upon millions of kilometers away. But what of it? You suppose it is beyond us to produce a dual system of astronomy? The stars can be near or distant, according as we need them. You suppose our mathematicians are unequal to that? Have you forgotten doublethink? Winston shrank back upon the bed. Whatever he said, the swift answer crushed him like a bludgeon. And yet he knew. He knew that he was in the right. The belief that nothing exists outside your own mind, surely there must be some way of demonstrating that it was false. Had it not been exposed long ago as a fallacy? There was even a name for it, which he had forgotten. A faint smile twitched the corners of O'Brien's mouth as he looked down at him. I told you, Winston, he said, that metaphysics is not your strong point. The word you're trying to think of is solipsism, but you're mistaken. This is not solipsism. Collective solipsism, if you like, but that is a different thing. In fact, the opposite thing. All this is a digression.
Good evening, everyone, or morning, or afternoon. I'd like to, I guess, welcome myself back. This is Cathexis. We're going to be going over a couple things that I've been wanting to talk about en masse with my subscribers and people who are willing to listen for a while now. Considering that this channel is primarily focused on philosophy and pointing out the philosophy behind scientism, pointing out the philosophy behind real science. Also, it applies of the philosophy of your own mind, understanding your reality as best as possible. And over the past couple of years, I've been introduced more formally to writers such as Robert Anton Wilson, who he's seen as counterculture. He came from that LSD group with Timothy Leary and all of them from the 70s and 80s. But Robert Anton Wilson's a unique individual. He is somebody who he just simply is a philosopher, and whatever experiences he may have had with these other things, I think he stands out, in my opinion, as a metaphysician, someone who understood some very important things about the mind. And of course, he gives credit to the 8-circuit system of Timothy Leary that Timothy Leary put forth. And there is this really good group of individuals that you can draw upon for these types of ideas, these metaphysical notions about reality tunnels, reality filters, and that's the direction I want to go in, because the one thing I've learned about really all of these topics, especially concerning scientism, concerning, you know, the way we look at our world on an individual personal level, absolutely, but even on this grander academic level, this system of filters along the lines of what the thinker thinks, the prover proves. Now, I read the book Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson 3 years ago. And that's where I was first introduced to the idea. Now, in New Age communities, we hear about manifestation, what the thinker thinks, the prover proves, but just in a different language, that you get what you focus on. So if you are thinking positive thoughts, positive things will tend to happen. Now, it's funny because the secular atheist crowd would like to say, oh, that's just magical thinking and it's confirmation bias and pareidolia, right? They've got their little rational wiki and metabunk prepackaged answers, which is hilarious because you can tell who's the regurgitator in the crowd, because if you know the answers on rational wiki and you hear them constantly from this type of person with this particular reality filter, that has been conscripted to them for the most part, but that's another issue. But you could see it, you could hear it. And I think I'm sensitive to it because I used to be like that. I think we all have. At some point in our life, there are things that is outside of our current ability to grasp. And so we'll default to the experts. And I think this is one of the biggest problems that we have in society, or at least had, because what we have now with the internet, all has now been revealed, all has made available to us. So we're able to verify what we believe. We're able to go in and say, okay, well, this is a complicated subject for sure, but I have the ability to look up all of this academic work, sit through, pore over, do the research, and find out what is true or not concerning this topic. And I think that there is definitely something changing in society because of that. And one of the other issues, though, that comes with this is you have everybody out on their own little reality tunnel, thinking what they want to think, and in turn, proving what they want to prove. So there is a confirmation bias aspect to it, but that's just how humans work. So the reason why I'm doing this stream today is because I think that if we become more aware of that, if we start to understand that process better, we can then take a firmer grasp on what it is that we think we believe, and we can then go in a direction that is healthier for us or more conducive to, really it's up to us. It's up to us to literally shape our reality how we want. And the way that's done is by checking your axioms, verifying them to make sure that that they are consistent. That's the thing about axioms. They cannot be, if they're butting heads with each other, they're not going to work. You're going to have problems in life. And I wish this stuff was taught. I wish more people understood this. Like, philosophy is disregarded these days, and especially by the secular scientism crowd. They love to say that philosophy is dead. There's a quote from Stephen Hawking, literally, philosophy is dead, which is a philosophical statement in itself, but whatever. But no, this particular crowd, this scientism crowd, loves to dismiss philosophy. And by doing so, they have given the reins of their life, essentially, their way to explain their inner workings. They've given it away, thrown it out, or just given it up to the authority to be dictated to them and conscripted to them, as I say. And that's what's happened. This is why I'm out here talking about this stuff. It's why I did this series with John, the science versus scientism. We all need to be aware of what really is real and what is not. Which theories are fine. Philosophical biology is a good thing to look into, and it's fine to have beliefs on it. Evolution, it's philosophical biology. That's all it is. But don't go around stating that it is objective science where the method has been used, the variables have been tried and tested, the hypothesis has been disproved, and show me the actual scientific work for that, which doesn't exist. It's the same thing with Big Bang cosmology. You just have math backing it up. It's, you know, the list goes on. We've covered it ad nauseum on my channel. If you haven't reviewed any of that, please go back and take a look. So the point is, we need to be able to understand the filters, the reality filters in which we use in order to conduct our life. Because unfortunately, we have given up those reins to government, to authority structures, to institutions. And a lot of times, I mean, this is just the way it was. This is just the way it was. And you know what? It sounds harsh to somebody who hasn't looked into this stuff before, but it is literally mind control. It is mind control at its most technical definition. If somebody is conscripting you, your reality filter, then you're playing out somebody's reality. You're co-creating someone else's reality. And if on the off chance it's possible that what you are conscripted isn't exactly true, and it is a false axiom that creates false assumptions, which then creates behavior based off of that, wouldn't you want to know? Well, how would you know? This is why it's important to become aware of just these simple concepts of what a reality filter is, a reality tunnel, what the phrase, what the thinker thinks, the prover proves, why that is so important. There's also another author that has had a tremendous effect on this subject for me, and I've mentioned him before. His name is Charles Haanel. He wrote a book called The Master Key System, and I'm going to have the books that I mentioned here in my description box, so definitely please look out for that. This book is basically, it's about 180 pages. It's a numbered system where he goes through and he explains this metaphysical idea of how to get in front of your thoughts, how to deconstruct your axioms, to understand your paradigm better so that you can use it to your advantage, so that you can be the creator of your reality, so to speak, rather than it being usurped and used by the state or by society or by your church or by your family or just circumstance. Because most people don't even evaluate their own life. They don't even know that, like, they're stuck in that first level of awareness, which that's what most people call ego. Ego is that first level of awareness. And there are multiple levels back that you can draw back and you can analyze. And you do this through this lens of, what is my reality filter? What are the axioms set forth? What do I accept as true or not true? And so with Charles Haanel's work, I think it's extremely important to understand that there is actually a field of authors and metaphysicians who have spoken about this at length. There's another one, my good friend Isa Mahalski actually read the book called As a Man Thinketh. The name escapes me right now, but he did a full reading of this book. It only took about an hour. And honestly, the book, it came at the most synchronetic time I've ever seen in my life. And bless that man for doing it in the manner he did. It was fantastic, and I'll leave a link down below. So these are concepts, and those books were written in the early 1900s, late 1800s. The students of those men And you could look this up. Charles Haanel's first class of students was Ford, Carnegie, and Napoleon Hill. He taught those men how to manifest the reality that they wish to have by getting in front of their thoughts, understanding their reality filter, understanding their paradigm lens, so to speak, and how to uproot their axioms. So that's what I want to go over just a little bit here. First, I'm going to read just a small part, not even the first full chapter of Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson. The title just simply is The Thinker and the Prover. Here's a quote by the Buddha. All that we are is the result of all that we have thought. It is founded on thought. It is based on thought. William James, father of American psychology, tells of meeting an old lady who told him that the earth rested on the back of a huge turtle. But my dear lady, Professor James asked, as politely as possible, what holds up the turtle? Ah, she said, that's easy. He's standing on the back of another turtle. Oh, I see, said Professor James, still being polite. But would you be so good as to tell me what's holding up the second turtle? It's no use, Professor, said the old lady, realizing he was trying to lead her into a logical trap. It's turtles, 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 all the way down. Now, don't be too quick to laugh at this old lady. All human minds work on fundamentally similar principles. Her universe was a little bit weirder than most, but it was built up on the same mental principles as every other universe people have believed in. As Dr. Leonard Orr has noted, the human mind behaves as if it were divided into two parts, the thinker and the prover. The thinker can think about virtually anything. History shows that it can think the earth is suspended on the backs of infinite turtles, or that the earth is hollow, or that the earth is floating in space. Comparative religion and philosophy showed that the thinker can regard itself as mortal, as immortal, as both mortal and immortal, the reincarnation model, or even as non-existent, with Buddhism. It can think itself into living a Christian universe, a Marxist universe, a scientific relativistic universe, or a Nazi universe, among many possibilities. As psychiatrists and psychologists have often observed, much to the chagrin of the medical colleagues, the thinker can think itself sick and can even think itself well again. The prover is a much simpler mechanism. It operates on one law only. Whatever the thinker thinks, the prover proves. To cite a notorious example, which unleashed incredible horrors earlier in the century, if the thinker thinks that all Jews are rich, the prover will prove it. It will find evidence that the poorest Jew in the most rundown ghetto has hidden money somewhere. Similarly, feminists are able to believe that all men, including the starving wretches who live and sleep on the streets, are exploiting all women, including the Queen of England. If the thinker thinks that the sun moves around the earth, the prover will organize all perceptions to fit that thought. If the thinker changes its mind and decides that the earth moves around the sun, the prover will reorganize the evidence. If the thinker thinks holy water from Lourdes will cure its lumbago, the prover will skillfully orchestrate all signals from the glands, muscles, organs, etc., until they have organized themselves into good health again. Of course, it is fairly easy to see that other people's minds operate this way. It is comparatively much harder to become aware that one's own mind is working that way also. It is believed, for instance, that some men are more objective than others. One seldom hears this about women. Businessmen are allegedly hard-nosed, pragmatic, and objective in this sense. A brief examination of the dingbat politics most businessmen endorse will quickly correct that impression. Scientists, however, are still believed to be objective. No study on the lives of the great scientists will confirm this. They were as passionate and hence as prejudiced as any assembly of great painters or great musicians. It was not just the church, but also the established astronomers of the time who condemned Galileo. The majority of physicists rejected Einstein's special relativity theory in 1905. Einstein himself would not accept anything in quantum theory after 1920, no matter how many experiments supported it. Edison's commitment to direct current electrical generators led him to insist alternating current generators were unsafe for years after their safety had been proven to everyone else. On a side note, Edison's pig-headedness on this matter was partly the result of his jealousy against Nikola Tesla, inventor of AC generators. Tesla, on the other hand, refused the Nobel Prize when it was offered to him, and Edison jointly, because he refused to appear on the same platform with Edison. Both of these geniuses were only capable of objectivity and science in certain limited laboratory conditions. Science achieves or approximates objectivity not because the individual scientist is immune from the psychological laws that govern the rest of us, but because scientific method, a group creation, eventually overrides individual prejudices in the long run. To take a notorious example from the 1960s, there was a point where 3 research groups had proven that LSD causes chromosome damage, while 3 other groups had proven that LSD has no effect on the chromosomes. In each case, the prover had proved what the thinker thought. Right now, there are, in physics, 7 experiments that confirm a very controversial concept known as Bell's theorem, and 2 experiments that refute Bell's theorem. In the area of extrasensory perception, the results are uniform after more than a century. Everybody who sets out to prove that ESP exists succeeds, and everybody who sets out to prove that ESP does not exist also succeeds. Truth, or relative truth, emerges only after decades of experiments by thousands of groups all over the world. In the long run, we are hopefully approximating closer and closer to objective truth, quote unquote, over the centuries. In the short run, Orr's law holds: whatever the thinker thinks, the prover will prove. And if the thinker thinks passionately enough, the prover will prove the thought so conclusively that you will never talk a person out of such a belief, even if it is something as remarkable as the notion that there is a gaseous vertebrate of astronomical heft who will spend all eternity torturing people who do not believe he exists. Now, those are the words of Robert Anton Wilson from the first chapter, Prometheus Rising. And I think that we're dealing with this more than we realize. And I think it's more of a prevalent aspect of humanity than we realize. And I think that our creative powers, so to speak, have been hijacked. And they know this. Essentially, not that there's this conspiracy out for the individual, but this is about controlling a group, controlling the society. And you do this through mind control. You do this through shaping their reality filters. And I think that there's a lot of evidence that this is the type of research that has been going on since the 50s and 60s on how to actually manipulate reality tunnels on large scales. And I think that there's a lot of social tropes that exist in the scientific institutions, as you know, I've discussed at length on my channel here. Ideas such as Big Bang, evolution, all these things, they are they're powerful because people respect the institutions. They're told from early age to respect the white coats. They know more than you. They've spent more time on this. You know, there's no way you can contest them. You're taught this through your education system, the college, higher education system. They make it so that it's damn near impossible to socially disagree with them. Consensus reality is that strong. Now, that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it true. And like I said, looking through my series, you can see that if it's not done with the scientific method, it cannot be claimed as science. It is theory. It is a form of philosophy. It is meanderings of pseudoscientists at the very worst. So why is that important? If you base your reality filter on these concepts of Big Bang, billions of years necessary for cosmic evolution, now for biological evolution and panspermia and allowing for, you know, all of these species to come and rise, and then dinosaurs get, they're awesome, and T-Rex is running around, and then all of a sudden they all get wiped out by this planetary extinction level event, and then 65 million years later, I guess we're here. I guess we came from some mammals, some marmots that survived the asteroid, right? So you have this story. You've got a creation story that's been sold to you. It's a creation story. But it's the creation story of the materialist. The reason why I harp on this and the reason why I think it's such a big deal is because that has now set the boundaries for your reality filter. And it's very possible that it's not true. It's extremely possible that it's not true. The more you research it unbiasedly, the more you realize that there is agenda and there is dogma. This is the materialists' creation story. So it's up to us to take control, take reins of our reality filter and figure this out from the ground up, what your cosmology is. I've been saying this quote, well, I kind of came up with it recently. I said the first job of the alchemist is to discover his cosmos, not be told it, not conscripted it, to go out and think for yourself, question authority. And authority is the institutions, is the white coats, is the prestige, is the 8 years of this and the 8. Question that. That's all I care about. Because we have too many biological robots running around who are under, and you'll take issue with the words, but they're under mind control. You know, we see in this, in the quote unquote truth community, whatever you want to call it, a group of people who use the word waking up all the time. People are waking up, the world's waking up, slaves are waking up. What does waking up mean? It means to break through different levels of mind control. That's it. And when you begin thinking for yourself and you begin questioning these very large issues, you start to take the reins of your reality filter. You start to be able to put together what your experience is. And I think this information is long understood by the culture creators, the Tavistocs and your, Rand corporations and your good old CIAs and all of the I mean, you could actually go and look at FOIA requests and see all the wonderful studies that they've done on these kind of concepts for a very long time now, 60 years or so. MK Ultra wasn't about creating a Manchurian candidate. It was about understanding mass. You understand how the mind works, how to fragment it, how to do this, how to do that. You understand how to do a lot of it. And I think that's what they were after. I mean, I think it was Casey in '81 said that he was the CIA director under Reagan. He said, "We'll know our job is complete when the American people know nothing of truth." Something along those lines. That's pretty much what we're dealing with here. Everybody's under a form of mind control, and people don't like to hear that. And so I'm speaking to my group, my subscribers right now, which for the most part are people who are already aware of that. And so I think I probably should come up with a better way of explaining it. I should probably come up with a better phrase, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. I mean, someone is in control of your reality filter, and I think it's important to take it back, figure it out for yourself, even if that means not knowing, even if that means being wrong, even if that means no answer for X amount of time. I think one of the most important things people can do is be okay with not knowing things. The ego loves to know things and hates to not know things. I think it's a big ego check when you can be okay with not knowing something. That's part of it. It's a process. We're talking about the mysteries of the cosmos here. Literally. Literally. So I invite you to take the reins even further than you may have already of your reality filter. Think about things differently. What the thinker thinks, the prover proves. And finishing up here, I'd like to just go over the plans, my future plans with this channel. I'll be going down the path of these kind of videos and philosophy, personal stories, experience, different books that I've found concerning these topics, and answering people's questions. Also, I'm going to be doing perhaps a series on diet. I'm sure you guys are all aware of my journey, and I ended up studying, researching, how our body works several years back. I was very sick. I was very overweight. I had ulcers. It was really bad after a car accident of mine. Once I figured out that the mainstream paradigm is completely false, and it's propped up by our government in order to create sick people. When I realized that, I had to. That's why I'm so vocal about it. Anyways, I flipped the script. I lost 120 pounds in about 9 months. I corrected like 5 health problems. Like, it's really easy. It's really, really easy. So I'm going to be doing a series on diet, possibly some on nootropics and like vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. My book is almost complete, about 90 pages in. This book is concerning diet and nutrition. It's about the ketogenic diet, my backstory with it, what I'd learned, and how I can impart it to you. That will be coming here in the next. Actually, I think I could have that out here in the next 2 weeks. I'd like to say on on July 23rd. I think that would be a beautiful time to publish. So if you take a look, I've got my PayPal link down in the bottom. If you would like to support that in any way, shape, or form, feel free. The book will probably be $7 to $10 through Amazon. I think I'm going to use Amazon Create Space. So you can hold out for that, whatever. But if you'd like to, if you like the information that I have, you feel that it's worthwhile, we're all supporting each other out here. It seems to be the new way forward. If you kind of read the writing on the wall, this seems to be what an interesting new way forward, where we all support each other. I'm going to be putting my stuff up on VidMe. I'm going to be expanding everything. My website will come out along with the book as well. And so I'm going to get this rolling. I've been dealing with some personal issues the past 2 months. But things are good. Things are looking good. We have an interesting time ahead of us, everyone. Stay focused, stay vigilant. Remember, stay aware of that reality filter. Anyways, folks, be blessed. Have a wonderful night, day, afternoon.